There's an old story of a man who becomes obsessed with his own reflection, and his name is Narcissus. You have probably heard this word in the form of narcissist in today's media, or just generally in conversation about someone's ex. The story goes something like this. Narcissus looks over a pond of water and sees a beautiful face, perfect, procured, and becomes obsessed with it. Not recognizing that it was his own face in the first place, he just stares into the pond of water. He stops eating, he stops sleeping, and ultimately he stopped living. He gives all of his attention to this reflection to the point where it started to consume him. And he died there, staring at the water, but the lesson of the story isn't purely about vanity, it's ultimately about attention. Because what he gave his attention to, he gave his power to. And this lesson isn't just about vanity, but it's ultimately about attention. Because the attention that he gave to the reflection ultimately ended in his demise and his end of life, at least in the parable. So the idea there isn't necessarily just about vanity, but that what you give your attention to, you give your power to. Now, in ancient times, power meant land, it meant armies, it meant what sort of positions did you have in the market downtown. Every social media platform knows this. Politicians know this. News outlets know this. They aren't fighting directly for your money first. They're fighting for your attention, because if they can hold your attention, then they have the gateway to everything they want. Through your attention, they can control your beliefs, your emotions, behavior, your vote, your purchases, and ultimately even your identity. Because if something can consistently command your attention, they can influence your reality. So for the sake of the conversation, let's slow down and try to understand the word in the first place. What does the word attention really mean? It comes from the Latin word attendere, attendere, attendere. The at part meaning towards, and the tendere being stretch. So you put it together, attendere, attention, towards, and then the stretch to go towards something. When you're leaning mentally towards something, you are giving your energy to it, because to think is to draw energy towards. And that's why attention can feel tiring if it's not something that we naturally feel a push towards. If you've ever been in a college class with a professor you didn't like too much, or a topic that you were taking out of necessity to get your degree, you sat in the class, you get done, and you're just mentally drained. And the attention that you feel is where that gravity is going to grow towards. So in simple terms, if you think of attention as fear, which is a really useful tactic in a lot of consumer media and a lot of political affairs, if we stretch our attention towards fear, that fear as an idea and as a general concept to the people around us is going to expand. And direction ultimately determines your destination. You don't just drift into something, you land there as a destination point because that was the direction you were heading in. Let's talk about programming. Something people never stop to question is the programming that we are given as a child, whether that be in school with your grades, with media attention and advertisement towards certain products, with entertainment and towards of drama. Ultimately into politics, where we have our self-created division to spread the people in order to distract them. And ultimately, the system benefits from the scattering mind, because when a population's mind as a whole is scattered, that is where the people sitting above have controlled diversion. And to bring the initial story of Narcissus to the front, instead of looking at reflective water, today we look at curated realities, something that can capture us, a screen, a constant flick, something we are consistently drawn into that we don't really have much control over. We have the general idea that I can just skip a video, but the truth is, given enough time, the algorithm knows what to give you, and you're just skipping from one controlled option to another controlled option, both tested and proven to work for the direction that the upper, whoever controls these platforms, wants you to go towards. Now, news outlets are savvy to the fact that not only do the general population at large that vote tend to be on the older demographic, we are seeing a rise in the younger demographic voting. That's largely because of people like me who are trying to spread awareness, but the truth of the matter is platforms like Fox, CNN, other general news platforms, they're running a 24/7 economy purely based on attention. That can be in the form of fear, anger, control, even scandals which tend to raise higher click ratios. because they know if a story keeps you emotionally connected, you are going to keep watching. There's a psychological principle at play here. Focus on problems, become problem-oriented. Focus on fear, you're going to become some hyper-vigilante. Focus on growth, what do you become? You become opportunity aware, and ultimately that's a lot more powerful than a network trying to push a certain narrative. So what I would urge you in the idea of attention is not only to think about where your attention is going, but to also think about where can I place my attention to best be sorted. My wife will tell you this more than anyone. As far as my personality type, I'm not necessarily a super organized person. I just generally keep a backlog of where things are. It's just my nature. I could probably be better at it, but she would tell you more than anyone that the way her brain works, that she likes a clean atmosphere. So for someone like her, if she comes home and the room is scattered about, she is going to have a hard time paying attention to other things. Now, the reason for that isn't because a cup is a certain place, it's because she's focused on that cup. If she were to just place her focus somewhere else, well, then the cup wouldn't matter. That's my argument. She would tell me that I'm messy. We're probably both right. The question you should really be asking yourself is, who determines my attention? Is it deliberate or is it reactive? And then 3 is this worth my attention in the first place? Now, oftentimes for a large majority of things, we initially will think that a topic is necessary for attention. Like, let's say right now, at least where I'm posting this, there's a lot of war happening overseas in the Middle East. Is that something super relevant to my day-to-day? Probably not. Is it something that's relevant to conversations and understanding the geopolitics happening in the world? Sure. Is that relevant for whether or not I do the dishes in the morning? This injection of fear, constant stories of this happening over here, that happening over here, flashing lights, loud noise, faster and faster music. This very planned idea of how you can short circuit a population leads to a very cattle-like, very easily directed people group, especially here in America, but a distracted people group who aren't able to actually do the things that God or your family or your husband or wife want us to go towards, but ultimately a distracted mind leads to not only a scattered mind, but also an unproductive life. When we look at something like attention in our personal life, we have God telling us that we are to follow him through the teachings of Jesus Christ, of course, who's also God, and that we are to do as he says. But it's hard to do as he says or to even listen to the things that God may be speaking in your personal life through people, through your Bible studies, through your readings, if you aren't going to your Bible studies, reading, or following God in the first place. Now, does that make you a bad Christian? That's a hard metric, but it ultimately does make you a distracted Christian, and a distracted Christian is one who is easy to deceit and easy to fall into plans that aren't meant for you. You become what you pay attention to, so pay attention carefully. And to wrap this whole thought process, what you consistently pay attention to is what you become. So be very careful of what you give your attention, because it's ultimately what you're giving your power. Most people will hear this and go back to scrolling and say, really good idea, no thank you, and they just keep going. And it's not even in a disagreement, but that they are so strung on to the idea of what they've been doing for years and years. Ever since the COVID pandemic happened, we've gotten more glued to our phones that in many ways they become our God, because ultimately we all serve something, we all serve someone. The idea of what we serve is not in what we say, it's in what we do. You see that in the Bible. You'll see them not by what they say, but by their fruits. And then the counter argument is it's not just about fruits, but if you say something, you will produce naturally the outcome of what you say if you believe in it. If you're looking for somewhere online that teaches discipline, internal thoughts, what's actually going on, what's beneath the surface of reality, go ahead and follow along. I plan on posting a lot more about this general topic. It can't be bought, won't be sold, and I'm interested in seeing where this journey takes you, as I know it has taken me in a great deal. New videos every week. Take your attention back.